Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined in G Plus by Righteous Force, Ranty Flat Earth, Chocolate Saying, Brian, Arwin and 10th Man. Very good to have you all.
Hello.
Good morning. Hello.
Good afternoon.
Good morning.
Hello, one and all. We're also joined by a whole bunch of people in Discord. Hello.
Hey guys.
Morning.
Howdy ho.
Very good to have you also. Now, I was interrupting a conversation that Ranty was getting to his peak on. Now, I did get all of your conversation into the pre-show, Ranty. I'm sure you're pleased to hear. However, are we good to do a bit of housekeeping? I'll ask you permission in case you're in the middle of something.
No.
Any signs of Earth curvature?
Not from Playa del Rey Beach.
Nope.
Any signs of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
No, the Earth is definitely stationary.
Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Accelerometer.
That's
No,
not
they're
scientific.
trying to figure out what it really is. So.
Accelerometer's not scientific evidence.
I'm only joking.
How can there be scientific evidence of something that is not a force, but you can think of it as a force?
There
That's the
can't be.
part they're trying to figure out.
That's
Because
just
when you thought
pseudoscience.
about it, you thought about it scientifically, and therefore it proves it. There you go.
You can't think of things scientifically. It's a method that you apply to validate empirically a cause of an effect.
Oh no, you're hurting their dreams.
Oh, that's a shame.
Well, according to George Musser, even Newton himself didn't think it was a force.
Heresy. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or which one did I say? Cosmology, astronomy, or astrophysics. There we go.
Not scientific.
No, those
Seat of
are
the pants.
pseudosciences.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, seat of the pants.
What about the
Seat
distance to
of
the
the
sun?
pants. Seat of
Any
the pants. Back pocket calculations.
Leaps of logic.
Leaps of logic.
Guesswork. Any evidence of the distance to the sun? Speaking of guesswork.
No.
No.
Only pseudoscience.
Yeah, we can't even confirm that it is actually a physical object in the first place. Sun just seems to be an optical phenomena.
Okay, given that we have a law of nature with entropy at its centre, and an assertion that the sky is a vacuum, an area for the energy or the particles of matter to disperse into, for entropy to increase. Given that that is a law of nature and there's an assertion that the sky is a vacuum, is there any evidence that you can have the gas pressure we all breathe without the necessary antecedent of a container?
No.
No.
Nope.
Well, I believe it's possible once we can find a definition of gas pressure that doesn't contain the word container.
Yeah, you'll struggle. Okay. Any evidence of the R value, Earth radius?
Well, it exists in math.
It's a huge presupposition.
You might be able to establish a two-dimensional one, but three-dimensional seems impossible.
What would the two-dimensional one be derived from?
Well,
The North Pole.
Their own
Polaris.
Polaris and
And going out 1,000 miles in each direction.
yeah, that you need
could
something else.
establish a radius.
Radius of a circle, right? So what else? Not just Polaris.
You'd have to kind of use the geographic North Pole to the equator. That's the best you'd do.
Well, no,
that we
he's
know
using
about.
No, that's fine. He's using the celestial pole. That's fine.
Huh.
But he can't derive a radius just simply from looking at Polaris.
Well,
No,
we just talked
you'd
about
have to start from the zenith of North Star and travel outward south in all directions. It'd still be a made-up radius, made-up diameter or circumference. Pardon me.
May I remind
Well,
everyone
yesterday-
that go ahead.
Sorry, yesterday Zanuck was suggesting that we could work out the radius of the Earth by knowing the altitude and the drop in the horizon in degrees, and that if you know those two values, that you can then derive a radius value.
Yeah, he has to impose a physicality to that not actual location, though, doesn't he? You see, that's them and their bloody sphere edge again, isn't it? So they're measuring the leading edge of the sphere? No, the horizons are not actual location. It's just reified into this physical location, sphere edge, for them to start measuring stuff from. Well, no, it's not. It's not actually an actual location. You just make it that way because you've got a religion that dictates that. So no, it's not a physical place. It's not an edge you can measure. But these guys, these fundy globe heads and their bloody edges. Oh, it's all about the edges.
And he keeps showing,
They're so edgy,
these
Nathan.
heads
They're
up
so edgy.
display.
All right, I sense an
Hold
opening.
on, a Ramscorp got rumpus by a gag. So Alwyn's saying I'm edgy. Funny.
Yeah, the ballers are so edgy, man. They're so edgy.
Go ahead, Rams, and then 10th man afterwards. Go ahead.
Well, Zanuck keeps showing these pictures of heads-up displays with the horizon line and the sun or the moon below the horizon line in the heads-up display, but above the horizon. And to him, that's solid evidence.
Okay, let's put out a formal question and challenge to Zanuck from 10th Man. The sphere has a radius of 3959 miles, 3,959 miles. Zanuck, you have to say that's wrong before you go anywhere with any other examples. So either you're going to come on this show and agree that the sphere has a radius of 3,959 miles, or you're going to say it's wrong, and then we'll give you some wiggle room to give us your theory. But since the sphere has been documented by your side to have a radius of 3,959 miles, then the horizon distance measurements must be no more than 1.225 times the square root of the observer's height. So if you're at 1 foot, Zanuck, the distance to the horizon, cannot be more than 1.22 miles. And yet we have pictures and very good tests to show 9 miles, 10 miles, 18 miles. You're wrong.
Get him, Temp.
They can't have that radius unless they can prove drop and curve. There is no way to have that radius. There's no way for the equator to be the size, to be 24,900 miles. it has to be a lot bigger. Just using the latitude and longitude grid, it would have to be 38,000.
No, don't go any further. Don't go into latitude and longitudes. Don't go into friggin' what their favorite color has to be. It ends with what he said. Period. He has to answer it. And he ain't answering anything because he owes me 2 G's. He ain't coming in here.
Good
Unless
morning.
Nathan wants him in here.
Good morning, QE.
Good morning.
4 more hours.
What's that?
Even flight distances, though.
Don't
are
worry about
longer.
flight distances. Stick with the proof.
I was just having conversation about it. That's all.
You got a frigging, you got a Super Bowl winner right in front of you, but you can't help yourself, right?
Are you talking about
Just
the
can't help
1.22
yourself.
miles?
You got to go into, their favorite colors, and if their radius is 25,670 gazillion tetrons, stop. Just use that simple argument, pass that simple argument to everyone you know. It's over right there. Everything else is barely palpable background noise.
I don't understand the argument. Can you repeat
I
it?
already used it. Sorry, Nathan.
Can you repeat it? I don't understand it, QE.
Are you talking about the 1.22 miles? The one for observation?
I'm a bit thick. I don't understand it. Can you repeat it, please?
I said, nah, I just woke up, man. Have 10 to repeat it.
I've already heard it. It was really concise. In fact, it was excellent. But I want it repeated by someone else.
Why you want it repeated by somebody else?
Because if you hear an argument and then you're on the fence, even though if it makes perfect logical sense, now I'm pretty much exclusively talking to zealots here. If someone else comes and reiterates it, it can have the effect of snapping somebody out of that, well, I'm still going to side with the person that's still arguing, because they're still arguing, even though it seems like they've lost. Someone else comes in and reiterates the exact same argument in just slightly different words and a different tone of voice. And like I say, it can have that effect on somebody that might just be going, well, there's still somebody arguing against it though, isn't there? Zanek's still arguing, so can't be wrong. No, if the point's reiterated, I'm not... I see what you're going now. Yeah, 10th, I'm not in any way diminishing what you've just done in terms of your presentation. I couldn't concisely give that argument the way you have. You've paid a lot closer attention than I have. So in some ways, I'm half joking when I'm saying I'm dumb. I couldn't rephrase that argument. That would be more accurate. I couldn't. That's the truth. But I get it.
All right, if the Earth is a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles, then horizon distance measurements must be no more than 1.225 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. If you're unsure about that, just see all the Earth curve calculators and look at distance to the horizon. Okay? The observer's height right here in this example is 1 foot. Distance to the horizon is greater than 9.41 miles. Distance to the horizon, remember, the maximum for a sphere at that observer height is only 1.22 miles. So, modus tollens, if P then Q, not Q, therefore not P. So, if the Earth is a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles, P, then horizon distance measurements must be no more than 1.225 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. That's Q. Not Q. The horizon distance is greater than 9.41 miles, therefore not P. P. Earth is not a sphere.
And let's not forget what
No.
gives their
Earth is a
horizon
sphere.
distance.
Sorry, just minor correction. Bolted it up at the end. Not P. Earth is a sphere. So Earth is a sphere and it's not P.
I'm sorry, that confused people. Therefore not P. So the Earth is a sphere. It's not P. The Earth is not a sphere.
Correct. Sorry, just had to correct that.
That's okay.
So let's not forget what gives them their edge. What gives them their edge, their horizon edge? Well, gives them the horizon edge is gravity. So if you can see further than their distances for this supposed horizon, then gravity isn't pulling the water as their model would have you think it is, and in which case that means that gravity isn't working. And you can't have gravity not working because we'd all just get disappeared into space. Right?
What?
Let
There's
me just
nothing to
break
do
that
with
down.
gravity.
Let me break it down because Arwin and Chocolate had this out earlier, and I just can't be asked. It's taking 10 minutes. What Ranty's saying is, if you take the colloquial misunderstanding and misapprehension about what gravity is and what it does, it pulls the oceans into a nice, neat sphere, and therefore you've got this curving edge of sphere in their belief. Now, Ranty observes flat water day in, day out, and he's saying that gravity is supposed to be making that water curved in your colloquial misunderstanding about what gravity does. That's paraphrasing, but ultimately what he is saying.
Exactly. And if you have flat water, you do not have gravity acting on that liquid. You can't have flat water in the globe model. It is impossible. And what QE was basically showing there is that if you have a horizon distance of 1.2 miles away and you can see beyond that with a greater horizon at a further distance, then gravity is not having an effect on that water. So therefore, it is not curving it into a ball.
It's a problem.
No, I'm not saying that. No, that's not mine. That's your addition to it. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying then the Earth is not a sphere. Has fuck all to do with gravity.
We've got these different levels of intellectual arguments going on here where there isn't a necessity to have one. Both points are valid. However, maybe it needs a colour coding system, I don't know. But, colour code green. In this instance, the fundy doesn't understand what gravity is, but automatically assumes that it's pulling water into a sphere shape, right? That's where Ranty's debunking it with the very nature of a photograph. And the assertion that comes after is, well, no, your misapprehension is it's bending water. It isn't. It's flat as a pancake. That's the end conclusion, but at that level of argument. In your modus tollens example, you're taking a very accurate measurement of what they claim is the leading edge of a sphere and is in actuality a not actual location. Now, based on their presupposition that it's a physical edge, you couldn't have it be beyond a certain distance, 9 point whatever it is miles in this example, based on their mathematics and their physicality to their edge. Now, that's a whole nother level above, no offence to Ranty, in terms of somebody's first understanding that we're talking about a physicality being attributed to a not actual location. That's pretty advanced in terms of the argument structure, but it's a stone cold death of the globe and their assertion that it's got a fucking edge. Sorry, I'm going to have to stop. My passion level's high when it comes to these sorts of arguments, right? I've been talking about this edge for ages, and this is the icing on the cake, man. This is epic. Because it's the stone cold debunking of their physicality assumption bias when it comes to a not actual location, the horizon. It's not an edge of a sphere. I've been saying it for months, but this is like the mathematics to show him why it's not a sphere. It's not physical. Why? Well, because we can see beyond where we should see beyond a physical obstruction that cannot be looming. Looming doesn't do that. That isn't what looming is.
Yeah, it's like a 2-hit combo. Ranty's using it as like a 2-for-1 debunk special. John saying, I've just debunked your horizon. And Ranty's saying, well, because that horizon's been debunked, right? Your horizon distance, it's been because that's been debunked, then the force that's supposed to actually cause that horizon distance is also debunked.
Well, everything is debunked if it's not a sphere.
Double whammy.
You can't
Exactly,
debunk gravity because you can't. It never existed in the first place. So.
Well, I tried desperately yesterday. I just couldn't find it because of the mountainous amount of content he's got. But Jeranism addressed this. It was at least a year ago. And I just wanted to find out where he did it because he's describing the horizon being up above and loomed up. I can almost remember the words he said. I haven't got it freshly watched enough to paraphrase how he's describing what is now being mathematically broken down based on Ben's observations and modus tollens being applied by QE. But like I say, I had a hunt for it and I just couldn't find the damn thing. If anybody knows where Jeranism's describing the horizon being physically loomed up, exactly as we're describing, his terminology's wrong, but he doesn't know that a year ago. You know, we hadn't even scratched the surface here. But now we're at a conclusion to it, and it'd just be nice to hear how he phrased it back then, because he clearly got it. So shout out to Jeranism.
Shout out, Jaron.
Shout out to Boo Conspiracy too, who has hammered this point for the past year.
Right on. And I didn't get it. You know, I was in the total as well. You debunked this by pointing out it's a not actual location. And Ben's pointing out that no, you've still got to pay attention to what they're claiming it is. A physical obstruction, a leading edge of a sphere. Now, while I might say that to the fundies, you've got to be in that mindset. It's something that over time, while I've said, no, you're not allowed to beg the question. It's like, well, no, Anthony's argued it, and so have I now with axial rotation and Coriolis effect. You've got to get right in there, man. You've got to get stuck in. And that's what Ben's done with the horizon. And you think, good on you.
For people who are listening, modus tollens and modus ponens. Can QE give us a quick definition? Or is he still eating breakfast?
Modus tollens is the example he's given, isn't it? So if P, then Q, not P, therefore not Q, or not Q, therefore not P, sorry. I'll say that again. If P, then Q, not Q, therefore not P.
You got to get your P's and Q's in order.
I did the second time. I got it right. My correction was correct.
Yeah, you did. You got it right the second time.
As it P's and Q's, it should be Q's and E's.
Should have an R in there somewhere. I'm certain of it.
So the corruption of modus ponens is the affirming the consequent formological fallacy, and the corruption of modus tollens is denying the antecedent. So remember, they're formal logical fallacies. When they say formal, that means format. So their format, it's by, construction. The if P then Q, P therefore Q, that's a format. That's what makes it a formal logical fallacy rather than, begging the question, which is an informal logical fallacy. It's not that neither one is more important, or a formal logical fallacy wears a tie, right? No, one's more important than the other. If it's fallacious, it's fallacious. If it's fallacious, the argument's void. Thanks.
Covered this on it'll be yesterday's show for you watching in 1980s channel premiering stream, but for those of you watching live earlier, exactly, your argument is void if you've used fallacy. So somebody quoted JLB who said, one man's fallacy is another man's truth. Well, no, a fallacious argument is void. End of statement.
I think we have to do another logical fallacy show. I think I'm thinking the next Ballbusters Live. You know what's happening on the next Ballbusters Live. Let me. Can you take a guess?
Fallacies, as you've just told us that.
Flat Earth proofs.
No, flat Earth proofs.
Is that necessary?
Guess what's going to be the poster child?
Is that really necessary? Isn't it obvious and observable?
He's got a brand new edition, of course.
Oh, that's true. I see what you mean. Yeah, you've got this is a flat Earth proof. Yes, quite right on. Absolutely appropriate. Now I've thought about it. Yeah, damn right. This should be added to the list. It should be updated.
It's to the list, all right. It's all the way up at number 1 right now.
If the Earth is a sphere,
I really don't have to go any further. We will with Flight, the Solar, Sea Sparrow Block 1, Coriolis, which has been rebirthed, and Vacuum of Space. But I really don't have to go past the first one. But we will. We're going to go slower than molasses in the wintertime. Then we'll do logical fallacies.
Shout out Unitox Femu. Sorry, Unitox Femu. Thank you very much for the super chat. If Earth is sphere, then it's a sphere by logic. Trying to do modus polens. How do you say it? Modus polens? Is that right?
Modus
ponens. If P,
polens.
Then Q, P, therefore Q.
Yeah, that's what he's trying to do. I think.
The argument could follow the format and still be invalid, by the way.
I like it, QE, because every one of these ball tarts goes to this calculator.
Well, let's just stick
And
to
you
this
put
just so these fallacies, as it got asked, I want them concisely rounded out. So if P then Q, P therefore Q. If I eat 10 pizzas, I am full. I've eaten 10 pizzas, guess what? I'm full. So that's perfectly sound logic.
Exactly.
However, when you reverse modus, I can never say this, I say ponens.
Ponin.
No, it's modus ponens. Ponens.
Ponens. When it's modus ponens, it's perfectly sound logic. However, when you affirm the consequent, you then reverse the P and Q. So I'll use the same example. If I eat a massive pizza, then I am full. If P, massive pizza, full, Q. I am full, Q. Therefore, I just ate a pizza? Well, no, I've just eaten 10 hamburgers. Definitely not a pizza. So it's an affirming the consequent. This gets translated into most, if not, I'm going to put my hand out there and say all globe proofs. So an example, if the Earth is a sphere, now this would be segued in, sorry to pepper it with the word hemisphere, but assuming that they're using that word to make this statement. If the Earth is a sphere, denoted by hemisphere, then I will observe star rotation in the north and south hemisphere. Yep, so you've got, if the Earth's a sphere, P, star rotation, Q. Then you affirm the consequent. Star rotation, Q, therefore Earth a sphere? No, affirming the consequent. So denying the antecedent, however, I'm not so good with in terms of the actual detailing of the logical fallacy, because it doesn't often get used other than in things like evolution arguments. Darwin came up against one. If they're buried together, then they existed together. Not buried together, therefore didn't exist together. Do you remember this argument you had, Darwin? I believe it was on, I can't remember where it was. It might have been on your own channel.
No, it wasn't. It was against
Sorry, I'm
Knucklehead over
distracted.
on
My
Jose's
chat.
channel.
So
So
that
it's the same corruption. They just flipped the Q and the P.
Yep,
For
wanna break-
modus tollens, it's P, if P then Q, not Q, therefore not P. The denying the antecedent, the corruption is this: if P then Q, not P, therefore not Q.
Yeah, when I said it incorrectly, I'd essentially detailed and denying the antecedent by reversing them. I didn't want to say that at the time. I just quickly and swiftly corrected myself. It is confusing, but yeah, denying the antecedent exactly is the corruption of exactly that.
Well, whatever you did, you put into my mind P for pizza, Q for queso. So pizza and cheese. I'm going to go do this test.
Test. It's not a test. It's a logical fallacy or a perfectly
No,
piece of
it's
sound
when
logic.
it's food, it's a test. I have to have 10 hamburgers and 10 slices of pizza. I'll get back with the findings.
Fair enough.
Oh,
Ramscorp.
and beer. And don't forget
Did you
the
want to
beer.
add something, Ramscorp? Flashing away.
Oh, sorry about that. I had a hot mic.
No, it's okay. Yeah, we will definitely have to cover it again. I think it's an excellent and worthy addition to Ballbusters. If we do flat Earth proofs and then logical fallacies, that would be a solid Ballbusters show, I would say. Next week.
No, that's more than one show.
Think so?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Now, it's not that we're not going to go over modus tollens. Obviously, we're going to, because that's part of the proof. Remember a long time ago when I said my proofs were not scientific evidences? They were logical consistency arguments? Yeah, that's coming home to roost.
Yeah, the problem is, again, it's the assumption that because they have hijacked science to use the magic of that vernacular when making up stories about their religion, somehow we now have to provide that standard that they've been claiming but not having. No. The only reason they're asked for their scientific validity is because it's absolutely asserted as being science. So all we're going is, oh right, you say you've got science, let's have it then. Oh, what a shock, you haven't. What's that you say? I've got to give it to you now. I'd never claimed I had any science in this regard. Earth is obviously and observably flat. No explanation needed for these long-distance observations. It's just an observation. I've got a set of eyeballs and I look and I see. No explanation is required. None.
Yep, 2015. Flatards, science proves the globe, right? 2019. Science doesn't prove anything. Sorry.
And we don't need science to prove the obvious and observable nature of our reality. It's obvious and observable and requires no explanation, let alone needing scientific validity for a causal relationship that's merely asserted when you've got a religious belief about a sphere Earth that should be blocking something we're seeing. No, we just see it. And no explanation's required when you see an oil rig, or a clock, or a building, or an entire bloody island. Well, it's just an island, clock, or oil rig. That's it. I see it. It's there. That's the end of explanation. Because Earth's obviously and observably flat. That's why there's no explanation required. Just say clock. However, if you're a fundy zealot, then it's not a clock. It's a bloody hologram. It's a mirage. It's loomed up from beyond the edge that we have reified by fundies. Yeah, your edge, this physical obstruction that apparently the boat's going behind. Yeah, they're asking us for our edge all the bloody time. It gets sick. I get sick of it. Well, they've got an edge. That's why the overt attack on us to give them one. Same with science.
Don't forget chocolate.
Have you guys-
2020 Earth curve calculator proves flat Earth.
The fact that airplanes never fly with their noses below level. I mean, what more would you need to know?
Yeah, that's a squarely argument. We covered this.
Well, have you guys...
Hold on, let me just address that. The nose down thing is irrelevant. It's the scrubbing off of the altitude. When you're looking out at distance, like this picture of the north end of the Isle of Man, there's an alleged drop that should be there. Now, the fact they claim that what we see in the north end of the Isle of Man now, just off screen, is actually a slightly looming non-standard refraction hyena holographic projection of the north end of the Isle of Man from behind the reified edge of an Earth curve based on a begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking curve calculator, doesn't alter the fact that we just see it and it's there. When you talk about the drop that isn't there, that's the very same drop that an aeroplane's got to scrub off. Nose down is irrelevant. So long as they descend, nose up or nose down for whatever reason or mechanics that gets them to do that. The fact is they don't scrub off any altitude. So I got checked on it, and I'm just going to check you on it the same as I was checked on it. The nose down bit doesn't matter. Do they drop? Do they descend? Because according to the photographs we present, there's drop there. Oh yeah, that's gone behind the Earth curve. It's lower than you based on Earth curvature. A drop. Well, that's what the plane's got to experience. Not necessarily nosing down. Do you follow me?
Yeah, I know that. It's like they can drop their power to drop altitude as well, which they don't do. Their altimeter keeps them at the same air pressure as they fly. Yeah, I understand that. If you're flying, though, from London to Perth, then there is no other way but to have to nose down eventually. If you think about it like that.
Scrub off the drop that you've experienced. Between here and there, if we're on a sphere, then there's a drop between us and it. Well, you've got to scrub that off at some stage, and the planes don't scrub any drop off. They're remaining at the same level because it's level, because it's flat. Again, this isn't requiring scientific validation. That's just what they do. It's obvious and observable.
Have you guys ever seen the heads-up display photos that Zanuck posts, where it shows the heads-up display horizon line above the actual horizon, and then you can actually see the moon below the horizon line of the heads-up display? How do we deal with that one?
We don't deal with anything with Zanuck, right? Nothing. We don't deal with nonsense or images. Sorry.
But what is the explanation for
Have him explain it. It's his proof. Why are you trying to explain his proof?
Exactly.
I'm just trying to understand why the image shows what it shows.
Have him explain it and then scientifically validate it, because we don't really care about explanations. We can get explanations from your average village idiot down on the corner, right? So we don't really care about explanations without scientific validation. Thanks.
Do you understand the point he's making? I just don't want that to drift over your head like it's just been a berating for no reason.
Yeah, I do understand.
Well, for the audience's benefit then, before I do, Unitox Femu, thank you very much for the super chat. Give me NASA budget, I will show you the shape in a month. Right on. The person that's making the assertion that then basically reverses the burden of proof. So they say, here's a picture of a heads-up display. Here's my line drawn on the heads-up display of a position called the not actual horizon or the apparent horizon. And here's the actual horizon. Well, no, it's not. In the distance. How do you explain this? And you go, I don't. I'm not making any claims with this. You are. What's your explanation for it? And I'll rip your explanation about what you're showing with your claim to shreds. So don't fall into the trap when they reverse the burden of proof and say, what's your explanation for this? You don't even have to say, I don't know, because it's not your claim.
Well, Zanuck's explanation is that it shows the horizon dropping as a result of altitude.
I see. Now I can shit all over that. So Zanuck has reified the horizon into a physical thing that can drop, when in fact it's a not actual location. So this is their reified edge. Well, we don't know. What's an edge? Oh, it's what the fundamentalist sphere believers reified the horizon into and say it's a physical location that can drop and be measured and all sorts of other bullshit. No, it's not. It's just a not actual location, an apparent position, useless for measuring things, but he's reifying that not actual location into the physical edge of his religious belief in a sphere. Hope that helps.
Ramscorp.
Well, yeah.
The picture he's showing, are they in the nighttime or something?
Have you got access to Discord at all? Because
I just want to know, was it in the nighttime, the pictures he's showing? I've seen pictures like that before, so you don't have to go to that bother of sharing them.
yeah, it shows the heads-up display horizon line, and then it shows the moon actually below that horizon line, and then what appears to be the actual horizon is even lower than that.
Just
The
one more time.
actual horizon line, really.
Just one more time. So the horizon is only being described as an actual location by religious zealots who have reified a not actual location into their physical edge of their religious reification of a sphere model. So they say it's an actual location, the actual horizon. There is no such beast. It's a not actual location.
Brian, I put that HUD display in Master B.
Thanks, Chocolate. I'll go have a look at it. Thank you.
Good, yeah.
I just want to
Because I'm
expand on it
just trying to
once more.
understand that the horizon line of the heads-up display, either it's wrong. Is it wrong? I mean, that's what I'm trying to understand, because you know, there's you can see the moon below the horizon line of the heads-up display.
No
and
worries.
if the heads-up display
let me
is
just try
getting
this
that,
with you.
creating
try
that
this.
horizon line
I understand what you're asking.
accurately,
So if it's foggy,
yeah.
does your horizon, what happens to the horizon when visibility gets worse?
it becomes more difficult to make out.
No, but you've still got a position where you can see into the distance where the sky, which you can still see in fog, and the ground will apparently meet. It's just much closer and lower down.
Right.
Did you get it?
Hold on. Right. So in poor conditions, low horizon, seems like you can't see very far out. So the distance along the deck that you can see is short, low horizon. Now on a crystal clear day, and it seems like you can see for miles and miles and miles, where's the horizon then? Still low? Or is it high? It's high. You can see further. The deck extends out to a greater extent, pushing the horizon back, i.e. up. But this is not a physical place. It's an arbitrary description of where the sky above you appears to meet the ground below you. But that never happens. The point being that in his description, he's saying that this mark on a heads-up horizon display is somehow affected by the not actual position where the sky appears to meet the ground. It's meaningless. But in his worldview, it has meaning because it's a physical place, a physical horizon, the edge of a ball. Now, if you look over a massive ball, it has an edge that you can see over. Beyond that edge, you can't see the other side of the ball. This side you can. That's the physical edge on a sphere. And in his mind, that's what he's looking at in the heads-up display. The edge of his sphere. But it isn't. It's a not actual location. An apparent position that can change with the weather. Or if you get higher. Or a multiple of other things that you can alter the not actual location, otherwise known as the horizon, with. For us normal people who appreciate that it's not a physical place, it's not an edge. But on a ball, you've got an edge. So they've turned that not actual place into an edge and then said, look, my reified actual positions dropped. No, not actual locations don't physically drop. And them not physically dropping in not actual position proves nothing. Hope that helps.
I think what Nathan was saying is that if the horizon was a real place, then it wouldn't move. Is that right, Nathan?
It's not that it wouldn't move, it's just as you raise or lower on looking over a ball, you can see more over the physical edge of the ball as you raise in altitude. Now, in reality, the horizon, the thing they say is the edge of their sphere, isn't an actual obstruction. It's a not actual location where things that are too small could potentially vanish. Call that the vanishing point. Or the not actual location where the sky appears to meet the ground. It doesn't meet the ground. That never happens. These are all descriptions of not physical, not actual locations. So when a not physical, not actual location drops in a heads-up display, who gives a crap? It proves precisely nothing.
Ramscorp, this kind of a thing that Zanuck is showing with the heads-up display, people like Wolfie were throwing that out there a couple of years ago as well. It's always the same, exact same, maybe they put out. It's normally taken at night time or when there's a lot of heavy weather, where the apparent horizon seems to be very low and close. You know, it's always the same and nonsense. I mean, if you ask them for a series of HUD displays from the days and nights over the whole course of a month, you know, you get all different pictures.
I feel like we're going in a big circle. We started off with the Earth curve calculator at the 1.22 miles maximum distance for horizon at 1 foot level. Now, just think this out. If you stand at a 6 foot level, can you see further? If you go to a 10 foot level, can you see further? If you go to a 100 foot level, can you see further? Okay, fine. Here's the point. When we test it at 1 foot at 1.22, it's wrong. It doesn't work. The horizon's past that. The whole thing is off. You kill it right there with the small measurement. You kill it up there from the airplane measurements. It doesn't matter.
I understand the apparent nature of the horizon, but I mean, Zanuck will respond by saying, "Why is the
Who cares
moon
about Zanuck?
below the heads-up display horizon line?"
At some point,
Here's the thing.
when someone is not listening to 1.22 at 1 foot, and they're not going to listen to a good argument that's validated by their own Earth curve calculator, it's time to let that guy go. The guy is nuts.
But let's just try him. So, given what we've explained on this show, first you establish what they're claiming. So, when this happened last time, you said, "Oh well, Zanuck's claiming that." If you can give us that information now, I can then crap on it again, based on what's being claimed, as opposed to your explanation for it, which you haven't challenged us to give you in this instance. I'm just saying there's no burden of proof reversal at this stage, unless you do that now, hopefully not. But if you can tell us what that's claimed to prove when the not actual location of the moon moves towards the not actual location of the horizon, we'll see what that proves based on what Zanuck's told you, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, but it doesn't even have to get to that point, because we already know it's a well-known fact, and it's demonstrated every day, or every moment of every day, that planes just do not navigate vertical drop over distance. So beg away, I suppose, right?
Yeah, you're right. That was Brian's first point but using nose down terminology. But yeah, that's true also. But still, Ramscorp, if you want to detail what is claimed to be proven by the moon being below the heads-up display horizon versus the not actual horizon, you want to tell us what that's claimed to prove? If you know, you might not.
Well, it's claiming to prove that the apparent horizon is dropping with altitude.
Right, how can a not actual location drop?
Again, let's all
Hold on,
remember we're
Chocolate.
talking
Hold on.
about Zanuck.
Hold on, Chocolate. Let's see how he laughed. So, do you appreciate the problem we've got here straight away?
Yes.
And do you
It's
appreciate?
just the moon. It's just the moon appearing between the apparent horizon and the heads-up display horizon line.
Yeah.
That apparent horizon that you're saying, that's redundant because the horizon is apparent.
But moving on from that, that's also correct, absolutely. But the reason the example's being made is by way of forcing your hand to accept this not actual location as an actual sphere edge, which it is in his example. I will shout it out in a minute, the goddess. Or the god series, sorry.
I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
Perfect. Shout out to the God series for the super chat. Watching the show at 7:53 a.m. from America. I really appreciate your enthusiasm. You're obviously on the West Coast.
Yeah, we were right there with me.
Yeah, we need to talk about a time change.
Nah, this schedule's now set in stone. Oh, by the way, I've just recently changed the schedule.
I actually like it because it's early and I can listen and participate if possible, and then still be able to do my day.
Well, it's almost 2 a.m. here in Australia, so.
This is the only compromise between the Australians and the Americans. So obviously both are going to moan if they wanted to, but both
No,
could.
I think it's outstanding.
both could take part. That's why I picked this time.
I'm in California, and I start the show at 6 a.m. with you. Actually, 5:30 normally.
Just
Some
for
of us don't wake the chickens up.
gonna say,
Okay.
just as a disclaimer, 10th Man is a farmer.
Well, first of all, I called my chickens, so they no longer exist.
I'm quite jealous, actually. My folks used to live on a farm, and it was idyllic. Nothing, no neighbours, no horrible screeching horns, no street lamps. You wake up because the sun's coming through your curtains and the air smells beautiful, and you naturally wake up when the sun comes up. That said, you're getting up at 5:30 when it's pitch black at the moment because you're a farmer and you've got to.
Actually, I have my alarm on my phone set at 5. I make my coffee. I get my dog. I do all kinds of start the fire for the family, and then I get ready for the show. So I'm at 5.
Yeah, that was my dad's life as well. Get the logs in from the woodshed, get the chicken sorted.
Yeah, someone
I
came to
envy
the
you, Tim.
farm and said, "Hey, do you have any animals?" I go, "Yeah, they're all in 2 freezers. Good for another 3 years."
Excellent.
My pop's just retired. He does road construction, and he said that he slept in, and to him, sleeping in is like sleep until 5 a.m. He actually leaves at 3:30 every morning. Brutal.
Yeah, that's right.
You've got to get up early in the day to be on Flat Earth Debate if you're in the States, or you've got to be a dedicated night owl if you're in Australia.
And we love doing it.
I
It's
gotta
worth
say,
it.
the Australians have it worse, especially when the shows go really long.
I think so, because you can just, if you're in the States, you just watch the after show, right, at about 5 p.m. Well, depending on where you are.
Yeah, normally 2 p.m. in the West Coast.
I'm like Nathan. I find myself watching the premiere later on in the day.
Hey, question for you. Have you guys been able to get together and make that video with all the housekeeping questions concisely summarized in a short period of time?
No, but you could watch Tim Osman argue against them yesterday. Was it yesterday? Or was it the day before?
Yeah.
We do need
Next
to.
question.
I'm
Next question.
segueing
Next
away.
question.
Yeah, we haven't. 10th Man was the original person to suggest that, and I did actually forget about it this instance. Previously, I've been like, no, I've definitely got that in the forefront of my mind. Now I have again. We will definitely get around to arranging that. How Weasley was that? We will definitely get around to arranging it. Well, there's a solid,
Well, yeah.
yeah. There's a date for you.
I plan on planning it.
You have all of 2020.
I just figured I'd put a
ahead of
bug in
you.
your ear.
It sounded Weasley as soon as I started saying it.
Nathan Thompson wants to know
I
if you
put- I
can
put
get
a-
on the show somehow.
Can you get the link to him? Why isn't he on Skype? I know he's been banned. He's told me before.
Well, you can go on Discord, right?
I could try to pass him the link if you want.
Yeah, pass him the link. Might not get much of the live show with Nathan Thompson. He got talked about by Eric DeBay. So Eric DeBay had lunch with a vegan couple. I can't remember. I think they called them a very odd vegan couple or something like that. Anyway, he's chatting about Flat Earth, slagged off the usual suspects. But Nathan Thompson got a mention in regards to his globe head. And then he brought up a picture, showed him. And he was painting us as the eccentric, or how did he phrase it? Something like, yeah, the kind of people you get on the stalls at the Flat Earth conferences, and then described Nathan Thompson as being basically a weirdo, and then showed him with a picture of a globe head. So you got a shout out from Eric DeBay, just so you know. It wasn't the most positive shout out, but nevertheless, you're getting mentioned by Eric DeBay.
I didn't know.
Is that like a crowning?
Oh, what? Sorry.
Is that a crowning? Like he's been knighted? Like if Eric DeBay talks shit about you, you must be doing something right.
You're nobody in this community till Eric DeBay's called you a shill.
even though Eric Dubay laid it down in the beginning.
In the beginning,
What
was
are we?
Dubay.
Are we talking about Eric Dubay? Now, Eric Dubay, his work is fine, and he's a guy of great detail and great pride at what he puts out. So yeah, his work is ace. But as for personality going and the people that follow him and how he behaves socially, yeah, that's what Owen Benjamin started calling Savognier. And it is kind of invasive and annoying and unnecessarily defensive and all that. But yeah, his actual work, was great, and he was very early on. So
Getting moaned at by
He's an interesting fella.
some, I can't read your name, it's too small, but Thunder Bear, I can just about read the rest of it. You never actually answered the question about why the moon appears below the heads-up display horizon. All you did was... I thought that would get a laugh.
That is funny.
All you did was state that the horizon is apparent.
How about yesterday? I forgot about yesterday's show. What were these bozos, Timmy Clown and the Rumpus? The second law of thermodynamics doesn't apply to the Earth. What were they exactly trying to say? Let me see if I can get it. If GPS works, then globe. Is that it?
Correct.
You got it.
Don't
Clown.
forget,
to expand that-
$20,000.
To expand that slightly, so if I plot my positioning on a presupposed spherical surface, then I can assert that I've proved I'm on a spherical surface.
Well, it's even more corrupt than that, because this is so stupid. I can get an 8-digit grid of my position that's within 10 friggin' meters of where I'm at from 2 known points, a map that's a flat map, a compass, a protractor, and a pencil. So, I don't know. I can't even formulate this. What are you exactly? You don't have a point. There's nothing there.
Yeah, if
It
GPS,
has no cowbell.
If
Zero.
GPS, then global positioning. That's what they're saying.
I don't need. Yeah, but I don't need that. I just, like I said, I can get an 8-digit grid from 2 known points. That doesn't. This is so stupid.
Maybe it's even more simple than that. It's called global positioning. Therefore, it's global positioning.
Exactly. And with that, I'll say if you are watching this on the, let me get it straight, Nathan Oakley premiering stream, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you're watching this live, no, that's the wrong way around. If you're watching this live on the Nathan Oakley stream, then unfortunately this is where I bid you farewell. A huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making this live show possible. Stay tuned if you are watching on Nathan Oakley 1980 channel, as there will be an after show to follow. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!